Well, welcome to the surrounds of the Sydney FC Players' Lounge at our training ground at Macquarie University. It's a place our next guest frequented on quite a few occasions when he was here for one season around about 5 years ago. It was the 2014-15 season, the first year of head coach Graham Arnold. And this gentleman broke the record for the most goals scored in one A-League season for Sydney FC. Not only did he do that, but he also broke the record for scoring in consecutive A-League games, and that stands still at 7 games on the trot. And please welcome into this interview our good friend, Mr. Marc Janko. Hello, Marc.
Hey, to Australia. How is it? How's it going?
Very good. We're very well over here. How are you going over there? Well, tell us first of all where you actually are.
I'm in my garden in my apartment in downtown Vienna, and I'm enjoying quarantine times with my family. Probably you guys have the same situation now. We're not allowed to go out, only just to buy groceries and some important things to do. But apart from that, we have to stay at home.
Yeah, very similar here. We're missing football. I'm presuming there's no football in Austria right now either.
No, at the moment not, and they are planning to try to start again in the middle of May, and it's not sure yet because they have to do all the testing stuff, and it's not sorted out yet how it will work then.
But what about yourself? What are you up to personally? What sort of job? You're obviously, I presume, not playing anymore, or are you?
No, I retired last summer. So I said enough is enough. With 36 years old, I hang up the boots, and it was a great career. I really felt very grateful for all the stuff I could experience in my career. And at the moment, my main job is to be a father for 2 young girls, 4 and 2. So only that I'm busy all day, let's say it like that. And apart from that, my holiday job, I call it, is I'm working for TV station, pay TV channel Sky, where I can still follow football in Austria and also the Champions League games. So it's a nice occupation.
Yes, I can imagine. Do you miss the playing aspect of it at all?
To be honest, not 1 second, and that shows me that it was the right moment to step back from the game, and I'm really enjoying now the time off from football and from my old life. Let's call it like that, and it was the right time.
Well, we might just for the next 20 minutes or so take you back and chat a little bit about that. I want to maybe go back just before you came to Sydney FC, because am I right in thinking one of our fans actually mentioned to us that were you the son of an Olympic javelin competitor?
That's true. Good researching.
So did that encourage you into the professional sports arena, essentially?
Well, what it showed me is that we're talking about my mother. My mother became third in the Olympic Games 1968 in Mexico, javelin throwing, and she still holds the record in Austria. And what she brought to me is that if you want to accomplish something in sport life, you have to deny on some things, and you have to be humble. You have to follow your instincts, and also to be consequent in terms of training, because sometimes you don't have the mood to go out and train hard, but to become something, you have to get over that and be and follow that dream.
And you obviously did, and you spent your first season, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Admira Wacker, a club, I presume, in Austria, before moving on to Red Bull Salzburg, where you had an incredible goals to games ratio, something like 75 in 108 games, I think it was. I was reading recently that they're actually now one of the richest clubs in the world, or maybe they have been for a while. And certainly I know, because I noticed you were at Anfield not long ago doing your TV work, that they've actually
Yes.
made the group stage of the Champions League for the first time ever. I mean, that must be your club in Austria that is closest to your heart, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Then the Red Bull Salzburg and the one you mentioned before, Admira Wacker, nobody knows them, of course. They are not very successful, but they made me to who I am, or who I was in football life. So they educated me. I was there from beginning, 6 years old, and ended up 21 when I moved to Salzburg. And there I had an incredible time in Salzburg. And my international career really started from there. I can say that. And apart from that, I also had a beautiful time in Salzburg. Apart from football, I met many close friends. They're still close friends today, and it still feels kind of home when I come to Salzburg. It's about 2.5 hours ride by car from Vienna, where I'm living now. And it still feels home when I come back to Salzburg. And yeah, it was great time. And the club developed unbelievably good the last couple of years. For some reason, they never made it to the group stage of Champions League. Luckily, last season they made it for the first time ever. And yeah, the club and the fans deserved it.
Then after that, you moved on to FC Twente in Holland. We actually spoke with David Carney a few days ago, who was, I believe, there at similar sort of time as yourself. Do you remember the time specifically? Yeah,
very well. It was for me. It was a special move. Twente was that time the current champion of Holland, and it was my first move abroad from Austria. And I was already 26, so quite late. The move to a foreign country. And it was also a great time. We had lots of success, and I also met Dave Carney there in the beginning, the first few weeks. He played there, and then he moved to another club in the transfer window. And yeah, great guy, and also great times at Twente in Holland.
Porto, and then Trabzonspor, where you met another Sydney FC former player in Adrian Mierziejewski, who I'm guessing played out on the wing while you played up front.
Well, Adrian played almost everywhere up in front. He's a unique kind of player, and he also called me several times before he moved to Sydney and asked me about the lifestyle and also the level of the league. And also due to my recommendations, he made the move to Down Under. And what I could follow, he made also a fantastic impact on the league and also on the club. So, but also a very nice guy and with a lovely family, and yeah, so that's how it turned out.
So we have even more to thank you for than just that one season.
No, it's so good.
But then obviously after that you took the decision to move down under yourself at a time when Sydney FC had just lost one of the sort of most famous players to have ever played for the club. In fact, probably the most famous players in Alessandro Del Piero. Coming into that yourself, I remember you were asked at the press conference, do you feel any pressure or nerves having to step into his shoes? Do you remember what you said to that answer to that question?
Well, I said I have also big feet, and I'm happy to try to fill up the shoes, but of course, it's not possible to fill up the same level like Alessandro brought to the game. His career is outstanding, and he's world known. I'm not, so it was a big impact he made to the league, and it was for me also an honor that I'm the guy after ADP. And yeah, I tried my best, and it was very hard circumstances for me, because at that time I haven't played almost for 2 years in Turkey, so I had to have a little bit time to adjust my body to the physical conditions and then all the stuff. But I think in the end it all worked out very well, and I could get back on my football feet again. And luckily and happily, and also thankful for Sydney FC that they gave me the chance to play in Down Under. I could prolongate. Is it the right word? Prolong my career. Few more years on a good level.
Yes, well, you certainly started off pretty well. In fact, actually, I remember you missed the first game of the season due to an international call-up. But then you came back for the Wanderers game, that was a fantastic game. We won it 3-2. I don't know if you remember, 2-0 down at half time.
Stadium, packed stadium, great atmosphere, and we managed to beat the Wanderers, which is for the Sydney FC fans the most important thing I can imagine. And it was a great first game for me.
And then game 2 for you, round 3 of the season. I think the A-League saw one of the goals that they'll probably never forget, one of the goals of all time, really. Do you remember your first goal for the club?
Yeah, it was a very, very special goal. I mean, to score a goal like that, it didn't happen very, very often in my career, to be honest. Maybe it also turned out so nice because I was at that time so tired, and I thought, okay, I give it a try. I shoot because I don't want to run anymore. I'm exhausted, so I gave it a try, and it luckily bounced in. Yeah, it was a nice goal.
On your chest on the volley from about, 40 yards out, maybe a bit more.
I don't know the measurements, but it was just a nice goal, and I can now say that I really wanted every second and everything on that goal. It was on purpose, so nothing was lucky, let's say like that. So it was, in the end, it was also a little bit lucky that it bounced in, because it could have also bounced over the goal. But I gave it a try, and it worked out.
It sort of put the club on a little bit of a roll after that as well. I think Dimitrovic scored a fabulous goal as well at the other end. And then there were some phenomenal games, I seem to remember, that season. There was just high-scoring games. There was 5-4, a 4-3, another 4-3. I think we beat the Mariners 5-1 up there. Even the semi-final against Adelaide was a high-scoring game. And then even 2 3-3 draws against Melbourne Victory in that season as well. So lots of goals. Obviously, yourself a big part of that. One particular goal, I don't know if you remember this one, was against Melbourne City, down in Melbourne, when you were basically just given the ball on a plate. Do you remember that, by the defender who just passed it straight to you?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I'm still thankful for that gift.
Do you remember the circumstances, particularly why he might have passed it to you?
I guess it was a blackout from him, and it was for sure not because he loved me so much. A gift from him.
I think so, but there was some speculation, I remember at the time, that they were training in light blue kits because they wanted to have because they are owned by the City Football Group, they wanted to play in sky blue, or city blue as it eventually became called. But they couldn't do it in the matches. They were only allowed to play in red and white, and white, I think it was, on that particular occasion. So there was some suggestion, the defender, I can't quite remember who it was, that he'd actually looked up and just saw another sky blue shirt, and having obviously trained in sky blue, just thought, there we go. And obviously all credit to yourself, because you went on and you still had a fair bit to do, I seem to remember. It was the halfway line he gave it to you.
Yeah. Well, I still had to run some meters, and again, I was exhausted in the end. But it can be that he maybe thought that I'm one of his teammates. But in the end, football is a game of errors, and without any errors, we would always see 0-0 games. So, and nobody's interested into that. So, luckily the guy made an error, and I could get some profit out of it.
You remember, because as I said, there's a lot of goals. Do you remember having a particularly good relationship with the players around you in that season?
Yeah, we had a good atmosphere in the dressing room. Some great players some legends of Sydney FC like Alex Brosk, who also retired a few months ago, which I followed, and Sasha Inyovsky,
Bernie out wide, right?
of course, Dimitrijevic, also a fantastic player. So we had a good bunch of people and a nice positive atmosphere. A nice coach, Graham Arnold. So it was a good time. Unfortunately, we couldn't manage to become champion, but you managed it some years after.
Yeah, we certainly did. But even so, that was the start of it all. I think back then there was a couple of other fantastic performances from yourself. Do you remember the game at Parramatta against the Wanderers, where you got, well, I think you got 3 goals. I don't know if they counted all 3, but remember that fantastic to and fro?
You mean the disallowed goal?
Yes. No,
yeah,
no,
it's still
the one at Wanderers. I meant the one at Wanderers. Yeah.
The one at Wanderers. Okay. Yeah, it was again a special atmosphere because, as I said before, the games against the Wanderers were always very dramatic and also interesting for the fans, for the Sydney fans. And yeah, we could manage to beat them in their home, and at that time they were a really good team and also strong team. They became Asian League champions, which is a great performance, or which was a great performance. So it was a good fight.
And in particular, that game, the fact that we went 3-0 up against them, all thanks to you. Well, mostly thanks to yourself, as you say, the first goal wasn't given to you, which is probably a bit disappointing. But do you remember the 3 goals in particular? Do you remember how they came about?
Yeah, not exactly, but more or less I can remember myself about the atmosphere in the stadium, about the goals, and I also can remember that we kind of laid back a little bit in the second half. They were about to come back, and then what was his name? The young gun made a fantastic goal.
Terry?
Yes.
Antonis?
Yes, thank you, Terry Antonis. Also a nice guy, and he managed to bring us back into the lead and finish it off as a winner.
Yeah, it was another very memorable game that we've certainly not forgotten here. You mentioned the other goal just before, the disallowed goal. Were you talking about the one down in Wollongong, which was probably possibly even goal of the season as well, against the Newcastle Jets, the volley that was disallowed?
Yeah, thank you for remembering me. It still hurts today. It was maybe one of my best goals I've ever scored on a professional football field. Unfortunately, it was disallowed by our side. Still don't know if that was 100% correct, but what can you do about referee's decision? You can only accept it, and yeah. But still, it felt fantastic in that moment. Every second, how the touch of the ball, it felt amazing. Yeah.
Still disappointing. I know the head coach certainly wasn't very happy afterwards, but I mean that was just a moment to savour. But was there a moment at that stage? That was around about the January time, I think, when you kind of really found your feet and you started to click, because obviously you went on to win the club's Golden Boot and record the best ever tally for a Sydney FC player in our history at that time. Did you find that there was a moment where it all kind of came together for you?
Well, maybe with that special start and with that disallowed goal, maybe it all started a little bit. I became fitter, I became stronger, I became more comfortable within my group of players, and then it started just clicking. And as a striker, sometimes you have these periods where it's just not working. And as I said before, for me, I had hard circumstances when I arrived in Sydney. I haven't had played for almost 2 years, which is a very, very long time for a football player. So it took a little bit of time that I could adjust not only to the league but also to professional football at all. And maybe it took me almost 6 months to get back on my feet, and then around January, it started off well with that disallowed goal. It was unlucky, but after that, the goals were flying to me.
You got a hat trick in that Brisbane Roar game at Allianz Stadium in the pouring rain. I don't know if you remember that, but that was also the day where you broke the record that I mentioned earlier. It still stands in the A-League today, most number of goals in consecutive games at 7.
Okay.
How proud, was that something on your mind at the time, and how proud are you that you managed to achieve that?
No, I mean, with records, it's always you don't like follow them as much as you said it. When they happen, you feel proud and you feel good about it, but it's not something that you can chase, because at the moment it's in your head. Maybe you're starting to become like nervous, or you don't have the moment anymore. So I always held it like that I try to black out everything, every record which is out there, and just try to focus on my game. And when the record comes, it comes, and I'm happy to get it. And the rest, it shouldn't affect you on the football field.
Of course, but, I think you actually broke another record in that particular game, in that you made it to 16 goals, which was the most in a season for Sydney FC. Are these milestones, now that you've finished, you can look back on and think, well, actually, that was a fantastic season for me personally?
Yeah, definitely, and also because, as you said before, I was the guy after Alessandro Del Piero, which is great footsteps to fill in, and to be able to score more goals than he did made me also a little bit proud. And although he was for a football player, a very old guy at that moment, but still, nevertheless, he had some fantastic qualities. And as I said before, he is still a world-known, famous name and world famous player. So I was kind of proud that I could overcome, surpass his marks of 15 goals. Yeah, that was a personal record, but to be honest, I would have rather become champion and score less goals than Alessandro than how it turned out. But that's life, that's football, and sometimes it's not coming out the way you want.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The grand final, especially how we played in the semi-final, the grand final was obviously disappointing for us all, because I think we probably agree we probably had been the best team in the second half of the season up until that point. But do you remember anything particular why it didn't come off for us in the grand final, or any particular moment that you thought changed it?
Well, with finals, it's always it's only one deciding game, and the team who is at that time or at that day in the better mood, they sometimes win it, and it's not always the better teams who win the finals. So that makes it very special, and also very difficult for the good teams sometimes, because they can lose against some smaller teams, or some teams who are not at the same level like they are, and that's how it happened to us in that game. It was just not the right day for all the group. Also the way the game went, it was very not into our favors, let's say it like that. We had some bad moments and some bad errors. So that's how football sometimes can work out.
Then obviously you made your move back to Europe to join Basel, where you did very, very well. Was that the right move for you, do you think, at the time?
Well, now I can say that when I left Sydney, I was actually thinking that we will extend my contract, and that's how we agreed, actually. And then 1 or 2 weeks later, Sydney FC called me and said, no, we don't want to extend your contract, because you're too often away with the national team, which is okay. But I was just a little bit disappointed that we couldn't say that just from person to person. But okay, that's how. This was the only little bit a downside from this whole thing, but in the end, everything came out better, and also it showed me that every negative thing has also some positive thing, and I could manage to be a member of FC Basel at that time, also Swiss champion, and we could play Champions League, and was a very nice and successful time as well. So it was a nice move for me, and I was happy to be back in Europe, and to be able to play on such a high level. And Sydney FC gave me that the chance and that opportunity to get back on my feet again. And only for that I will be thankful for all my life. So it was a good time.
Can I just ask you a couple of other quick ones? Just we saw it just before, and actually this is another question from one of our fans. The bowling ball celebration, I think everyone remembers that. I don't know if that was something you did throughout your career or whether it was just at Sydney FC, but what was that all about?
Well, it's simple to answer that. A guy on social media texted me that if I will score in this next game, he would love to see me doing that bowling move. And I just answered him, yeah, no worries, mate. It's fine. If I score, I will do that. And luckily, I could remember in that moment, after the moment I scored, that there was something I promised. So I just followed his wish.
That's good, very good. And I think you mentioned the camaraderie that the team had around the dressing room and that kind of thing. Is there anyone in particular you still keep in touch with? I know you were very friendly with Shane Smeltz, who was here coaching after his career finished as well for a little while.
Yeah, I know. I'm still in contact with Schmelzi, and he is and he was always a fantastic roommate, a great guy, a great friend. And our families are also very close, and we're still, like I said, in contact. And I hope that someday we will see each other again, because, like I said, he's a true friend. He became a true friend.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic to see you back here at Sydney. He's now on the Gold Coast, I think, doing other things. But there was another actual thing I saw on your Instagram account a little bit earlier. This hashtag regardless happy campaign that you've been kind of involved in.
Campaign is a little bit too big.
Yeah.
But what the thing is easy, again, easily explained. Maybe it is, or it was, because I turned father almost 4 years ago, and there was a moment where it just started to annoy me, this Instagram world where you always see just perfection, perfect bodies, perfect food, perfect places. And I thought life isn't like that. And we as grown-ups, we give young people, especially young people, because they don't reflect so much as we sometimes do, the grown-ups. We give them a wrong attitude about life, a wrong picture about life. Life isn't always perfect in every second of even the most beautiful people in the world, and also the richest people in the world. Life isn't like that. The special moments are rare, and to capture them is okay, but I was just tired of only see perfection, and I thought, no, I from now on I try to use Instagram also a little bit different, and put on some average photos, or if I think about my horrible feet photo, it doesn't look very, very good, but that's part of me, and I'm not perfect. I think nobody is, and it's okay to be not perfect, and it's okay to not have perfect days, and it's okay to have some bad days as well, and also to not look very nice when you get up with your kids, and they scream in the middle of the night, and you get up the next day, you're tired, and it's okay to look shit, sorry to say like that. So that was a little bit my message I was trying to say, but unfortunately I'm not a world famous star who can bring this message to everyone. So it was just something I did for me and for my surrounding, And if at least one young kid or young human being got the idea what I was trying to say, then it was worth it.
Very, very great sentiments and very admirable as well, Marc. Well, you are a star here at Sydney FC. We always remember you and the joy that you brought us. It was a shame it was only that one season, but certainly there was lots of goals and we enjoyed it all the same. But thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we will see you back over here at some stage in the not too distant future.
Thank you very much, and all the best. And I will definitely come back to Sydney someday. My wife is asking me every month to come back to Sydney for some time, because we love the time there, and also the people, the lifestyle, and we'll definitely come back someday.